According to a YouGov poll, the most recent public polling that we have, Anastasia Palaszczuk's Labor Party would be set to lose to Deb Frecklington leading the LNP, 51-49. But in preferred premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk still remains preferred premier, and there's still a very big unknown factor about Deb Frecklington. Hence why there has been a conversation about whether or not is this the right captain to lead the team to a potential victory towards the end of the year. Behind the scenes, all of this ultimately led to a stoush that set itself off today inside Queensland Parliament. Have a look.
Internal divisions, white-anting and confidential leaks, just some of the issues Deb Frecklington is facing 4 months from the Queensland election. But the LNP leader says she's here to stay.
I will not be bullied by the backroom boys of the LNP.
Leaked internal polling reveals a list of seats the LNP likely won't win in October, but Deb Frecklington has dismissed the leaks as white-anting from rogue elements angry about women being promoted in key seats. In the case of an unlikely challenge, it's rumoured Broadwater MP David Crisafulli would be picked as leader of the LNP.
Here is former Premier Campbell Newman, who apparently was claimed to be somebody involved in all of this.
I'm a commentator. I dish it out to political leaders from all sides of politics. I've been extremely critical of the cowardice and the sort of the backsliding of Anastasia Palaszczuk over the border closures and various other matters. But the Premier hasn't got out there and complained about bullying.
Well, before I go to the predictable corners here, Jenna, it's a little bit of a smother, isn't it, for a leader of a party that is on its way to a potential victory who doesn't have good personal numbers to pretend that the backroom boys, who are, of course, all obsessed about the seats you win and where you win, that, of course, any complaint is all about Sheila's.
I can't with this discussion anymore. Can we just move on with it? If you are deficient in any way, you maybe need to take responsibility for yourself. And I probably can't say responsibility properly, so I should probably own up to that.
Hey, relax.
Do not blame your gender on the fact that you may not have personal numbers or you have issues with the backdoor or backdoor men of your party. If you have issues, you are a leader, regardless if you're a man or a woman. Go and confront the bastards. If they're too piss weak to go and actually have a crack at the leadership, tackle them front on. Don't rely on that lazy argument. It's because I'm a woman and they're blokes and that's why they want me out.
Yeah, I mean, look, Richo, here's the thing. I like Deb Frecklington. I hope that she wins the next election. You like Anastasia Palaszczuk. You hope she wins the next election. But the X factor here is public polling, right? And exactly as it was for Shorten, right, which is the team might be winning 51-49, but the leaders' numbers are not as good as they could be or should be, right? That's the conversation that is taking place and inevitably would take place, that if your team's going to win but the captain might be the reason you don't, why wouldn't you have that conversation?
Well, I think if you've been around this business a while, and I have, sadly, I think you'd have a look at those numbers and you'd say you can't just sit there. When somebody like Crisafulli's around and ambitious and anxious, and someone like Frecklington is just not rating anywhere, just a complete dud. Now, she may be a very nice person, I don't know, but she just has never lit a candle. She's just in the dark. And I think if I were a member up there, I'd be certainly taking a little delegation to her and saying, I think it might be time you tap the mat, because she just doesn't look like she can win. And Palaszczuk really shouldn't win 3 terms. That's huge. That just doesn't happen. So for Labor in Queensland, that just doesn't happen. So if she was to win 3, it'd be a terrible condemnation of the coalition. So they've got to do something. They can't just sit there and let it happen. Yeah,
also, I mean, Rowan, what Campbell Newman said on this show when I was at the border of New South Wales, Queensland on Thursday was that a perfect example of where he thought the party wasn't where it should be, right, is that you have this red-hot issue about a state government deciding to destroy businesses in order to somehow show off about virus control. There was a national television show that was coming to stand on that border, yet, whether we liked it or not, there wasn't a single person person representing the cause who was, driving around on the streets, no one holding up a placard, no one trying to make something of that opportunity, right? Now he's talking about that this is his concern about the machine that he wants to win, is that it's not aggressive enough and it's not making the most of things that are hurting normal people. Now, again, I like Deb Frecklington. She'll always be welcome on the show. I have no horse in the race, okay? Apart from, sorry, Richo, I want to change the government in Queensland, all right? But you can't be in this scenario where the leader can't be questioned. Why? Well, mate, we'll do that in the next half hour, all right? We'll do that gladly for the next half hour, all right?
Okay, done.
All right, let's get into this, Rowan. Again,
I won't be here.
It is reasonable. It is absolutely reasonable to question. But look, she's doing the right thing, which is you try to flush everyone out, all the rest of it here. But now, and again, the Queensland State Political Gallery. Literally, the Channel 7, Channel 9 and Channel 10 reporters who covered the last election are all now working for the Palaszczuk government, right? So there's plenty of people who are willing for their career advancement to ring the people who replace them to say, keep the story going, keep the story going.
Well, I'm going to answer Richo's question first and just say why. Because any leader who publicly claims that small businesses or businesses haven't suffered because of the lockdown is a half-wit and a moron and does not deserve to be in power. So that's it. She's gone. Anastasia Palaszczuk is gone. Unless she's bought off enough public servants in Queensland and appointed enough phony jobs on the taxpayers' expense to stack, do Labor ever stack things? Oh, no. To stack the polling booths with paid-for people. She's gone. But I do agree with Richo that... you are
unbelievable. What about then Campbell Newman himself and his government? Why didn't you ever say that about them? Give me a break. You are so biased. You have one eye only.
Okay. Campbell Newman was great. And they, the reality is that I think they're going to win. I don't think they need to change leaders. But it's astonishing that that's not showing up yet in the polls. And there is absolutely no reason why the coalition in Queensland shouldn't be romping home. So I guess I agree with Richo that that's a question for Libs to look at internally. Campbell Newman was a great premier, and they turned their back on him, which I never understood. But can I just quickly say about Jenna's comments? I was very pleased to hear Jenna saying, it shouldn't be a question of whether you're a woman or not a woman as to whether you're the leader, and anyone who squeals, oh, I'm in trouble, is a leader because they don't like me because I'm a woman is stupid. Thank you, Jenna, for saying that. But if I may just correct you, there were fantastic women on television, journalists and the like, going right back to the 70s and 80s. Jana Wendt was one of the greatest journalists in Australian history. She was back in the 1980s. It's not only the last couple of years that we've had fantastic women on Australian television. Pretty much since the black and white TV cameras started rolling, we've had the most amazing women on Australian TV. And it's not true to say that we haven't.